Y'all got to forgive me for that one. I was busy trying to find my hat. I'm like, what did my daughters do with my hat? Ain't this something? Trying to find my hat. How are y'all doing tonight? Barbara Kirkendall, Vicky Matthews, Debbie Gillian, Lisa Harrell. Hello, how are y'all doing? Hopefully you all having a blessed night on Tea Patriots, on Black Tea Patriots. And of course my Rumble Rebels, Germophobic, Buck Lyson, Napier PMB 9720, Yvette Romick, Pencil Sticks, Eddie Ladd, of course Shane 316. Let me see. One Way, BLB1. Jimmy, if you're there, John Yater. Let's see. And of course, who I got over here on YouTube. Well, that's switching over there on YouTube. We have Mind of Jamal Live. Let's see who's here on Mind of Jamal Live. Shane Terry, Marines, Army Mom, Tammy 621, Elaine Gertson. I'm going to start here first before I go to the flagship. Remember, please send me emails and tell me how you like the show and how things are going. That's all I ask you is to go over to themindofjamal.com. Themindofjamal.com, that's where we take your mail and I read it. That's where if you like something, you didn't like something. I cannot believe I left my hat. Where is my hat? I bet you so. Where I could find a Matthew Statner, Queen Peckerwood, Hurley McAdams, Burleton in the house, Bernie, Miranda, Laugh, Love, Laugh, Live. How are you, Karen Saunders? All right. Jeremy Elder, Sandra Mullins. Now, let's get started. There seems to be an epidemic, because I was talking about this Friday. There is an epidemic amongst biracial people who have a mix of black and white to be this overtly blackety black blackety black person. They throw their heritage away, their white side, and then they act like that don't exist. Colin Kaepernick disrespected the people who raised him. Colin Kaepernick disrespected the people who raised him. He is a man that commuter alert. Oh yeah, commuter alert for us in North Carolina is supposed to be freezing, so we have to watch the roads. He was put up for adoption. After that, he was raised by a white family. And for some reason, Colin Kaepernick felt to reach to his stereotypical black side, not his conservative intelligence, because you know, this stereotypical blacks, and you have what you consider non-stereotypical. Ones like Joel, like country music, drive a big truck. Well, I do that. Have his own tree cutting business. Joel Patrick. And others who don't fit that mold. And Colin Kaepernick wanted to be this Allen Iverson. He didn't want to be Mike Jordan. Because if you notice, Michael Jordan didn't wear cornrows. Michael Jordan wore a bald head, mustache, clean cut. Didn't like that. He wanted to look like the thug black image. Knowing he was biracial. And for some reason, I did a video talking about biracial people and how they seem to always want to run to what's considered their black heritage while totally dismissing the heritage of their mother, who is most likely white, or their dad, who is most likely white, but biracial. We also got to talk about tonight Joe Biden's budget. That man has lost his entire mind. Not some, but entire mind. But again, back to Colin Kaepernick. A lot of people don't like to talk about that because it's like this new show called What Then or something like that, to where when you put young people and question them about sensitive topics, they don't know how to answer it. So let's start the show with what I was talking about when it came to Colin Kaepernick. This makes no sense, and I got a new sound that you're gonna love.
Author and University of Chicago professor Eve L. Ewing.
I love how you depict yourself in this book, not as some big shot hero, but as a shy, insecure high schooler like we all were. I mean, I'm speaking for you, but.
No, absolutely.
Growing up, I think still am a pretty introverted person. I hope it's true to form, and that's just kind of how I navigate the world.
It's his true high school coming-of-age story, his journey embracing his blackness, despite resistance from many, including his white adoptive parents.
I know my parents love me.
And yes, we are talking about the banks, Douglas Day. We are going to talk about these banks. Because it's really not Silicon Valley. It's Silicon Valley banks, the people that help do startup. It's not the JP Morgans. It's not that. So it's not those people, the ones that actually count. These are the ones that help start up, quote unquote, social medias. But we are going to talk about that as well. Good video. Here you go.
But there were still very problematic things that I went through. I think it was important to show that, no, this can happen in your own home, and how we move forward collectively while addressing the racism that is being perpetuated.
He is a moron. M-O-E-R-O-N. Moron.
Cues from his icon, basketball star Allen Iverson, who he said wore his blackness like a suit of armor. And teenage Kaepernick wanted cornrows to match. He's getting what roles, his mom asked?
Oh, your hair's not professional. Oh, you look like a little thug.
Your mom said that to you.
Yeah. And those become spaces where it's like, okay, how do I navigate this situation now? But it also is informed why I have my hair long today.
The grown-up version of Eve wanted to go back in time and give young Colin a lot of hugs. And I was really moved and saddened by the level of kind of self-awareness that he had to develop at a very young age without a...
Is a moron. M-O-E-R-O-N. Moron.
lot of guidance.
The former NFL quarterback who once led the 49ers to the Super Bowl was known in high school for his baseball. The pitcher even had major league interest, but he bucked public pressure and followed his heart to the gridiron.
There were a lot more black people in football. I was like, I found some community here.
Do you still want to play football professionally?
Absolutely. I woke up this morning before our events, trained 5-6 days a week. I'm still up at 4:30. I go get my training in. That passion is still there, and the ability is still there.
He hasn't played professionally since the 2016-2017 season, when this single gesture sparked both solidarity and outrage.
Why did you choose that day and to protest in that way?
That's actually something we're going to dive deep into with the doc that's coming this fall. But as it relates to the book, people may look at that moment and be like, oh, you must have been this person all along. And it's like, no, there's growth that has to happen.
You find somebody is a moron. M-O-E-R-O-N.
Will you continue to sit?
Yes.
Then Kaepernick couldn't get hired and even sued the NFL for collusion in a case that settled.
Are you talking?
Yes, the NFL settled out of court. They could have fought and would have won because his stats sucked. Yes, he led them to the Super Bowl. Yes, he did. After that, his stats sucked. He didn't start kneeling until he was benched. And everybody knows Colin Kaepernick didn't get benched. Until he got benched, that's when he started kneeling. But I want to, like I said in my video, which I'll play later, I want you to take a little snippet as this right here. Take a look at this.
Fearful of nothing.
Being ignorant.
Blame.
Letting their egos control their every move. Superior at being dicks.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Oppression. Gaslighting.
Lack of empathy.
Intellectualizing oppression. Did I say oppression?
Now, those last two, let's go back to these last two. I want to hit on this. The last two.
Superior at being dicks.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Oppression. Gaslighting.
Lack of empathy.
Intellectualizing oppression. Did I say oppression?
Those two. Those two are biracial. Black mixed with white. And for some reason, they reject their heritage from their white mother for their black father who wasn't there in their life. Now, let me tell you a stat that, of course, not everyone who is in an interracial relationship is in, that goes through this, but the stats don't lie. 80% of biracial couples, when the father is black and the mother is white, are born out of wedlock. 80%. 83% are single parents. The mother is a single parent. Now, what do you say? I'm not saying all, but that's kind of almost all. So they grow up with this chip on their shoulder because usually if the mother's like that, she's not living in a trailer. She's in a project somewhere, growing up around these stereotypical blacks that make them feel like they're not black. White people treat them like normal. You're biracial, okay? You're both black and white. But in the environment they grow up in an environment to where blacks reject them. Say you're not black, you mixed. Which term? You tampered with. And it's just downright stupid. To totally disrespect their white side for in favor for their black side. You do understand you have white heritage and black heritage. And your white heritage is not less than your black heritage. And your black heritage isn't less than your white heritage. So why the need to constantly try to be this blackity black, black, the blackity black, black? Why? Well, they said if you got a drop of black blood, you black. You do understand the people who said that were racist and slave owners, right? You do understand that. Whenever you quote that, if you got a drop of black blood, you black, you're quoting slave masters. So you so stupid. You're quoting slave masters to justify your own self-hate towards half of yourself. If you got a drop of black blood, no, that ain't what they said. You got a drop of Negro blood, you Negro. That's what they said. I mean, you have to be the dumbest people I see. You totally disrespect your white ancestry. Why? Why? I don't get it. Because that's the new cool thing to do. So if your mother's white and most likely, single parent home, born out of wedlock, because the statistics are there, if the father's black and the mother's white. Which I've heard me quote these statistics so many times about if the mother's black and the father's white, the number drops significantly. If it drops down to like 30, 31, 33% out of wedlock, 23, 24, 25% single parent. But if you reverse it, mother white, daddy black, y'all have heard me do those numbers so many times. But people like Colin Kaepernick are hustlers. They're race hustlers. But it goes to a deeper problem. And Scott Adams, the guy from the Dilbert cartoon, said it best. In the black community, there is hatred and discrimination on levels you think don't exist. And so many people got mad at me on Mind of Jamal on Instagram. If you go to Instagram, I'm on Mind of Jamal Instagram too. So many people got upset at that video. They didn't like that. Because they're the ones who perpetrate this evil and discrimination toward biracial people. Nobody is making anybody choose. You're biracial. You was born out of love, I guess. Love making, but screwing. But you was born out of this union. So tell me, why do you fight so hard to disassociate from one union? And like I said before, that old, you got a drop of black blood, you black, is from racist slave masters who, when Miss Martha was laying in the bed with a cold, Master Johns was going down to the slave quarters getting him some. And when the baby came out light-skinned, he didn't like. When the baby came out looking a little dark, he stuck him right in the field. If he came out really, really light, he stuck him right in the house. Sometimes he would put the child in the house, especially if he knew it was his. But you automatically black, can't say you white, because that would have called up massa. Now, every slave woman that was a slave that had sexual intercourse with her master, the master, was not because he raped her. I'm not going to sit on this show and tell you every woman was raped by the slave master. That is not true. Some were not raped. Some really were in love and really loved him. He really loved her. See, I don't do this one size fits all type stuff, which I get so sick and tired of. Everybody always do the show of the miserable slave. He won't never happy, blah blah blah, and all white men just did was beat him and knock on him, which wasn't true. They don't even tell the stories of black slave masters. But there was people who loved their, I guess, mistress. Thomas Jefferson fathered how many children with one woman? See, everybody tries to say Thomas Jefferson fathered children with multiple slave women. No, he didn't. It was with one. Thomas Jefferson fathered a bunch of slave women. Children, but with one. I believe she had what, nine or eight of Thomas Jefferson's children. And of course, you know, John Quincy Adams used that against him in the presidential race. And Miss Donna Wynn says, Jamal, my daughter's married to a black man. He's a great guy and a sheriff officer in New Jersey. They have have my child and my beautiful grandchildren. That is so true, Miss Donna Wynn, probably is. But I hope and pray that being that your son-in-law is a sheriff deputy, he's away from that area, so his child will not have to experience that. You have to choose. And I hope and pray his family members don't do him like that. Do your granddaughter that way. Because you'd be surprised. You would be surprised of the hate that these people get from black people. White people don't treat them as this bad. It's blacks. Of course. Of course. Some, not all blacks treat them that way. Not all treat them bad. But it's a great number that do. Heck, it's a great number of blacks that treat blacks bad. That's well educated. How many young black girls, I'm going to ask you a question. How many of y'all right now in my comment section can testify, especially black women like Miss Barbara Kirkendall, and love, laugh, live? I bet you when y'all was in school, y'all was the girls that studied, didn't have time to play around, didn't have time to mess around in school, and I'm willing to bet you they called you stuck up. I'm willing to bet you, Miss Barbara Kirkendall, they called you stuck up. Miss Love, Laugh, Live, I'm willing to bet you they called you stuck up in high school. I'm talking about black guys that you called you stuck up. Yo, what's up, yo? Because I seen this. Now, not all. There were plenty of young black men in school that was about their education. But they caught hell. But this over push by people like Colin Kaepernick and many biracial people to fit in with their black side is ridiculous. It is outright ridiculous. Please, 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 like I said, send your email, send me an email, send me a comment to themindofjamal.com. Go to themindofjamal.com, write that comment in, and send me a comment, and I will read it at the end of the show when we got mail. And there are so many. There are so, oh, yep, they told me I talk white. Oh, my wife, oh my God, I know she was picked on. My wife's an educator. Her mama's an educator. Her aunts, all, she ain't none but educators in her family. I'm like, how in the world you date me? Because I'm as country as you sound. Don't tell me you dated me to be an English project. You know what, Steve Early? That is so true about how black parents used to be, how black mamas used to be. Steve Early says, I grew up in a black neighborhood and the black moms beat the bleep out of their kids. Well, it ain't like that no more. I'm going to tell you right now, you are hearing black kids cuss their mamas out. That ain't something you thought you would ever hear. Black children harassed me for being dark skinned. It was terrible. Okay, now hold on, Love Life Live. I used to get joked for being red. They should say I was red. You know what they say, light, bright, dag near white. Come on now, you know, dark skinned folk got it much better than us light skinned folk now. We catch it. We know your family tree tampered with. Come, Love Life, come on now. Love Life Live, Wesley Snipes. Light-skinned black folk ain't been in style since the Shalites and the DeBarge. Come on now. Black folk ain't been in style since DeBarge. We've been out of style. That old Negro Wesley Snipes took over. And Morris Chestnut took all the good part from us light-skinned. Y'all, that's the joke black folk we do with each other about light skin and dark skin. That's the joke we do with each other. But my point is, to get off the jokes, people who are biracial need to realize they have two heritages. One is not worse than the other. One is not worse than the other. And they need to be told, stop being thrown in one way, this one drop of black blood. That's the lie the slave master told. Slave masters and overseers told. Because they didn't want to take responsibility for the children that they had. And to hear these people still quote this madness is truly deafening. It's truly, truly deafening. I'm looking at a comment right now, y'all. I'm looking at some of the comments that people made on Mind of Jamal Instagram. Remember, I do have Mind of Jamal Instagram. I want you to listen to some of these messages. I want you to just listen to this. Tell biracial, they ain't biracial, they black. Down with they whitey. Okay? Yeah, this just ignorant. God, y'all got to see this crap. Why you cooning for the white man? To this stuff. So, Angela Bassett mad that Jamie Lee Curtis won an Oscar. What's up, R man? What you been up to, my man? So, when y'all see Colin Kaepernick, that's an embarrassment. And that's a shame. That's a shame how he did his parents who loved him and took care of him. And yes, they are hurt.
To any teams?
We reach out to all 32 teams every year throughout the year because my biggest thing is just let me get on the field. If I'm not good enough, cut me, but give me the chance to show you what I can do.
In 2019, the NFL organized a workout for you in hopes of getting you hired. You chose not to go to their workout. You held your own workout. What do you say to people who argue that the NFL did give you a shot?
That's another great question that will be covered in the doc.
In 2020, what did it feel like for you
Say his name, George Floyd,
to see everyone almost wake up?
Another great question that will be covered later this year.
The interview was horrible. Okay, well, thank you. There's another great question, crap. But that's that. Now, a lot of people are talking about what's going on with the banks. Oh, I did see that video of Rudy Giuliani and Rosalind Boyland and her being beaten by the Capital City Police female. Yes, I did see that. I did see that. Yes, I did. And all I can say, there were 2 people murdered that day. Rosalind Boyland and Ashley Babbitt. There are 2 people murdered at January 6th. Ashley Babbitt and Rose Boyland. And I saw it, the attorney, she looked Hispanic, but she was on the phone and she was texting. And I was watching Rudy Giuliani, so I did see that. It wouldn't let me download it, but I did see it. Now, your taxes is about to go up. Your taxes are about to go up. If you didn't know, your taxes is about to go up. Joe Biden proposed a budget. Of course, he says only going to get millionaires and billionaires, but it's people, it's couples making over $400,000. Which, of course, it's going to switch to assets and salary up to $400,000, including your home. That's how Democrats weasel themselves around it. What Democrats do is they'll say, oh, we're only taxing people who make $400,000. Well, that $400,000 switched to assets, property, and salary. So if you got a house that's valued at $300,000, that means you pretty got a good, you and your wife, if you're a man, or you and your husband, if you're a woman, y'all salaries combined probably $175,000, $150,000. So now you're over the $400,000 mark, so you can be taxed heavily. That's how they do it. That's the whole scheme of Joe Biden's tax plans. If your home, is worth so much, that's thrown into it. Because you do understand, when they add up wealth, they consider your properties, your things you own. So if you own like a Mercedes or a BMW, that car's worth $50,000, $60,000, that's being added up to it. Your home worth a lot of it, that's being added into it. And Kevin McCarthy said he's not going to budge. Kevin McCarthy's doing real well. We got to admit, Kevin McCarthy is doing real well. But here is Senator Kennedy discussing the Biden plan.
This year's budget fight carries high stakes because right now Washington is also facing a deadline to approve a new borrowing limit or risk huge economic consequences. Joining us now to discuss it all, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy, member of the Senate Budget Committee, who is known for his colorful commentary on this issue and many others. Senator, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you.
All right, let's start here. The president makes his pitch this week for the budget and says this.
My plan is going to reduce the deficit by $3 trillion over 10 years. Based on what we know so far about their plan, it's going to explode the deficit by more than $3 trillion over the next 10 years. They want to cut tax for the wealthy and large corporations, take away the power we just gave Medicare to negotiate lower drug prices.
All right, Senator, he says he's going to reduce the deficit, shore up Medicaid and Social Security, and make the rich pay their fair share. So what is the GOP counter?
The president's budget took my breath away. His numbers are extraordinary. We're going to run out of digits here. It's a $6.9 trillion budget, $4.7 trillion in new taxes that will affect everyone over 10 years, $18 trillion in new debt, a cut to defense. The president says that his budget will solve our financial problems in Medicare and Social Security. That's not true. Anything seems possible when you don't know what you're talking about. The Wall Street Journal just reported that the president's budget will add $11 trillion in a financial shortfall to Social Security and Medicare. The only way I know how to improve the president's budget is with a shredder.
Well, we're waiting to see what Republicans, though, want to offer in return, other than just criticism. Here's what the New York Times says, how they characterize what they say is coming. They say hard right House Republicans are readying a plan to gut the nation's foreign aid budget and make deep cuts to health care, food assistance, and housing programs for poor Americans. So, again, we got to get to what the GOP counter is, and how do you also deal with the optics of knowing how the Republican plans are going to be portrayed by most folks in the media?
Well, I'm going to try to do what's right for the American people. The media can do what it wants. The House is on its track to put together a budget, Shannon. The Senate needs to be doing its work on the budget. Senator Schumer has prevented that. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. We should be meeting right now. As you know, we split the budget up into 12 mini budgets. I'm ranking member on one of those subcommittees. We should be meeting right now, talking about how to reduce the rate of growth of spending and debt accumulation, but Senator Schumer will not allow us to meet. So when you can't sit down with your colleagues, it's kind of hard to put together something to talk to the American people about.
Okay, let me say something real quick, because this has to be said. He says that Chuck Schumer won't allow him to meet. Why don't you just go to the guy's office? But something he said at the beginning when he started talking to Shannon Breen. He said, you know they're going to paint this bad for Republicans. Maybe Fox News, you know, the Brett Baiers, the Shannon Breams, maybe they ought to spend time telling people the deceptiveness and the lies of the Democrat Party. Maybe they ought to actually spend time researching and actually looking into, so the American people can know what is going on with Democrats, because they spend so much time trying to make themselves appear to be nonpartisan that they're actually making themselves appear not effective at all. To me, that's the biggest hang up about Fox News. Fox News always try to make themselves look as if they're so balanced and neutral that they look like they're kissing liberals' butts. Why won't people like Brett Baier and Shannon Bream do an expose, do shows about the lies Democrats tell? Because they do understand Fox News Sunday and Brett Baier isn't the reason Fox is powerful. It's the Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingrams, the Five, Harris Faulkner, and yes, Sean Hannity. These news media people act as if they're the reason. They're the reason that Fox is so good, but these people live in Washington, D.C. and New York and always going to the parties, and we got friends at CNN, we got friends at MSNBC. That's the problem. You got too many friends at the people who hate your audience and really hate you. That's just true. They hate Shannon Bream and Brett Baier. As long as they don't talk conservative or bring a point that they don't like, oh well. If you bring up a point they don't like, they dismiss you.
But there's no question that there are savings to be had in this budget. No fair-minded American believes that you can't find efficiencies in a $6.9 trillion budget.
So you mentioned spending, and that is something we are hearing from House Republicans. Speaker McCarthy out there saying there's, we're bringing in all-time highs of revenues, but we have to talk about cuts in spending. But a CBO analysis says this: Republicans don't exactly have clean hands.
When I hear them say we're bringing in all types of revenue, everything is higher now. Everything is higher. If I had apples that last year, a bag of apples cost $2.50, but because of inflation, apples cost $5, yeah, I'm going to bring in, it seems, more profit, but I'm not, because you have to adjust for the inflation. That's common sense. That's easy. That is one of the easiest arguments. Well, we're bringing in record monies coming into the federal government. Why? Because things are higher. So things being higher, people paying more, but they're getting less. So it's not nothing good. So to hear her say a Democrat talking point, they're bringing in more money into the Treasury, more money. You're not. Yes, you're bringing in more money, but that's because the people are having to spend more, and they're getting less. Think about what your grandma could have got in the grocery cart for $20. Yvette Romick says we have baby formula shortages as of today. That's true. Think about what your grandmama would have got. Think about what she could have got with $20. Think about it. What she could have got with $20 worth of grocery. Now look at you now. Can you get that same? No. Federal government taking in more money. But look. Ed Reynolds correct shrinkflation.
On that issue, Republicans bear at least equal blame as Democrats for the biggest drivers of federal debt growth that passed Congress over the last two presidential administrations. So How do you convince your party to stop spending in the same way that Republicans criticize Democrats are doing?
Okay. I won't gonna stop and point by point. Why is Fox News quoting the New York Times? Shannon Breen is actually quoting the New York Times, as bad as they lied on President Trump. As bad as they lied on President Trump. And Fox News is quoting the New York Times. That alone should let you know about her credibility. Because Fox News part love the New York Times, Washington Times, LA Times, and ABC and NBC. I mean, this woman is actually giving quotes from the New York Times.
Well, that criticism that you just read is correct. There have been any number of bills passed with Republican support in the Senate that added to spending. I didn't vote for them. I'll give you one example. We just passed a $40 billion subsidy for big tech. It's called the CHIPS bill. The idea is to bring semiconductor manufacturing back to America. Right now we have a 10% market share. We just spent $40 billion in a giveaway to big tech. You know how much it's going to increase our market share? 1%. Our infrastructure bill, which is not really an infrastructure bill. I didn't vote for it because I'm not going to buy a car to get the cup holders. If you want to talk savings, we ought to stop sending checks to dead people. We spend about $1 billion to $2 billion every year to send money to dead people. The checks are being cashed. It's obviously fraud. The president's plan to have the American people pay for student debt cost $400 billion on over 10 years. We already had a plan to repay student debt. It's called a job. We ought to get rid of that. We ought to talk about how to reduce the federal workforce through attrition. We ought to talk about why in the Medicare program we're paying more for the same surgical treatment in a hospital as opposed to an outpatient clinic. There are lots of things we can do to reduce spending in this budget, but on the Senate side, we have to have Senator Schumer's permission to do that, and he's not going to give it, nor is President Biden.
Hold it. I want to thank Miss Lolly Ryder. Miss Lolly Ryder, thank you for your kindness and generosity. Thank you for your kindness and generosity. I want to thank my little brother, Jerson. Thank Jerson for your kindness and generosity and your donation to the page through PayPal. Once again, I want to thank Miss Lolly Ryder. Thank you for your kindness and generosity to PayPal. And I want to thank, of course, my little brother, Jerson. Thank you as well. Let me see if I got any super chats. Remember, you can do super chats. Somebody told me, Jamal, well, if I do a super chat of $3, that ain't nothing. If 10 people do a super chat of $3, if 20 people do a super chat of $3. So I'm not like that. I'm not like that. Well, you can, no. That's from the kindness of your heart. And who has more money? The man who walks down the street and finds a roll of quarters, or the guy who fined $3? The guy who has the roll of quarters, the guy who finds a roll of quarters. Remember, themindofjamal.com, themindofjamal.com if you want to send me emails. But notice Senator Kennedy didn't mention stopping checks to Ukraine. Kind of think that's a big one right there. He did not mention stopping checks to Ukraine. How about we stop giving Ukraine money? Hello, Miss Gail Cooper. How are you doing? All right. Somebody hit the cash out. Well, Miss Claire Wilson. All right. Welding cap. Let's see. I'm a 7.5 or 7 5/8. 7 5/8. 7 5/8. 7 5/8. Miss Claire Wilson. That's Claire Wilson. She just gave me a blessing on Cash App. She's from Claire's Boutique. Claire's Boutique. If you want someone to make, if you're still wearing masks, you have to wear a mask. She make masks, dresses, she make it all. Claire's Boutique. Remember that name, Claire's Boutique. But my hat size, once again, is a 7 5/8. 7 5/8.
Well, the White House does say they're folding in, I guess, $1.6 billion that will be aimed at fraud and going after things that you mentioned. And of course, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court says about the executive decision on forgiving student loans. So we'll stand by on those. Meantime, entitlements are getting a lot of attention. Republicans have repeatedly said they're not going to cut them. The White House has repeatedly said you need to be afraid if you're getting these benefits. Here is what GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley said this week.
We have to be realistic. It is unrealistic to say you're not going to touch entitlements.
Okay. They say Democrats are actually making proposals about these entitlements, but they say this: if Republicans continue to stubbornly insist that Social Security and Medicare shouldn't be touched, the inevitable result will be not only that Democrats win the political debate, but that all such reforms will mostly mean higher taxes. So listen, trustees of these programs tell us 10 to 15 years, they'll be insolvent. Nikki Haley's out there saying you got to talk about it, but Republicans are, chastised every time you do. Should you be having a public conversation about those things?
Well, I think you ought to get the Social Security that you paid for, and I think you ought to get the Medicare that you paid for. Now, Medicare is going to start getting in trouble financially in 2028. Social Security in 2035, I think. We should be talking now how to make sure that those programs are solvent. The problem is that President Biden, in his State of the Union address, decided to demagogue the issue. We all saw it. He basically said, if you speaking to Republicans, if you talk about Social Security or Medicare, I'm going to call you a mean, bad person. And that just took the issue off the table when the president decided to demagogue it. It was.
Truth be told, oh snap. Wow, she's sending me a rebel miss. Now, Claire Wilson of Claire's Boutique is sending me out a rebel flag welding cap tomorrow. Yes. Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And how was Louisiana, Miss Claire? I forgot. You didn't move to, oh God, my bad. You didn't move to Louisiana. That's where you was from. You moved down there to daggone Arkansas. My bad. My bad, Miss Claire. You moved to Arkansas. I keep forgetting that's where you was from and you moved to Arkansas. How was Governor Sanders doing? Do y'all like her down there, Miss Claire? Do y'all like her in Arkansas? Because she looked like she's doing a good job. But why is Senator Kennedy worried about what Joe Biden thinks about Republicans? That is a problem. Why is he worried about what Joe Biden thinks about Republicans? I don't understand that. Why do Republicans care about what Joe Biden thinks of them? Why do Republicans care? And thank you for the blessing, Miss Claire Wilson, once again. Thank you, Miss Claire, for your kindness and generosity, Claire's Boutiques and Fashions. Thank you. Why do Republicans care? They should have privatized Social Security a long time ago. What you pay into the government match. Now, you also should have it so that you can get a 401k from your job. But just maybe if we stop taking illegals in from all countries, Africa, Europe, Central America, and stop allowing them to get benefits that they don't deserve, we can do something. How about we cut that check to Ukraine? How about we stop giving Ukraine money? Because some idiot who's sitting behind a desk believes they're fighting Russia now and it's going to save American lives, which is the dumbest thing I ever heard.
You know, you can only be young once, but you can always be immature. And I thought it was a very immature thing to do.
So you think there need to be conversations then about something, whether it's changing the age for people who are not yet paying into these benefits, future changes, current changes?
Well, of course we ought to talk about it. I mean, the life expectancy of the average American right now is about 77 years old. For people who are in their 20s, their life expectancy will probably be 85 to 90. Does it really make sense to allow someone who's in their 20s today to retire at 62? Those are the kind of things that we should talk about. There are changes in Medicare we should talk about. Let me say it again. Medicare pays much more for the same surgical procedure in a hospital as it does in a private outpatient clinic. Why? There are a lot of things we could talk about, but President Biden has taken that issue totally off the table. He says he has fixed it in his budget, and that's nonsense. That's nonsense on a stick.
It looks like that's going to be done through increased taxes, which I know Republicans are thumbs down on that. I want to ask you about the border quickly.
But it still leaves a shortfall. It still leaves $11 trillion shortfall. So when the president says I've fixed the problem, with all due respect, he's not telling the truth.
Yeah, there is definitely a debt component to what he's proposing out there that's pretty hefty. I want to ask you about the border because there's talk of
as long as the media is in the pocket for Democrats, you're going to get Democrats doing this. Long if Democrats have the media backing them up, you're going to continue to get this. Hey, Miss Claire, send me an email to themindofjamal.com. Miss Claire, please send me an email to themindofjamal.com so I can give you that information, mailing information. Please send me an email to themindofjamal.com. Go to themindofjamal.com and you'll see my emails and stuff where you can be able to write. But Republicans spend too much time caring what Democrats do. Raise the retirement age to 70 or health. Now, what they ought to do is make it so people who need disability can actually get it, and those who don't get it. They ought to actually do physicals, because it's a lot of people who need disability that can't get it. And I'm gonna tell y'all something that's gonna really make you mad. We're subsidizing California and New York's bad behavior. We are subsidizing New York and California's bad behavior. We're doing that. You know that when they make bad decisions, the federal government give them money. The federal government give them money. So all this prop-up stuff you hearing about reparations, the federal government is going to back that up under Joe Biden. Under Joe Biden, the federal government is going to back that up through him. So we're having to pay for the bad policies of California. Yeah, I'll be honest, I like Senator Kennedy, but he is way too hawkish. That's right, he was one of those who believed about the January 6th. Yes, he was. He was one of them. Tucker Carlson showed his video, showed it was him. But let's finish up this video.
Taking cartels, designating them as foreign terrorist organizations. There's also talk about whether or not you get the U.S. military involved. Former AG Bill Barr's got a very interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal where he talks about if our country is under threat, we should have operations, including within Mexico. Where do you stand on that?
I think Attorney General Barr is correct. Look, the cartels, we know who they are. They're killing Americans on both sides of the border. And the fact is that the American military could partner with the Mexican military and the Mexican police, and we could wipe out the cartels. But President López Obrador in Mexico refuses to do that. And when Senator Graham and I talked about the issue this week, President Biden said it was a bad idea. And the truth is that President Biden believes in open borders. The cartels don't seem to bother him. And President López Obrador, he can answer for himself. But I don't understand why he would turn down American help to get rid of cartels that are killing his people and our people.
Just very quickly, to be clear, if the U.S. wasn't in a partnership of some kind with Mexico, its military, its law enforcement, does the U.S. military have any role within Mexico, short of that cooperation?
No, we can't. No, we can't go into Mexico without Mexico's permission.
Just want to be clear. All right, Senator Kennedy, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Actually, that's not true. We've done it before. We've done it before. The United States have done that before. Ever heard of Pancho Villa? When Pancho Villa was crossing the American border and killing Americans, we sent Black Jack Pershing and the Black Troop Buffalo Soldiers after Black Jack Pershing. We sent him to Mexico to get Pancho Villa. That's true. What we don't have money is for Ukraine. Now, there are a lot of people telling me, Jamal, we do not need to raise the retirement age. No. Leave it alone. My mind is willing, but my body said, no, 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 no. Your mind say yes, 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 yes. Your body say no, 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 no. But your mind say yes, 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 yes. So, how about you do a Social Security restructuring? Those people who did not pay into Social Security, you don't get it. If you spent your life thugging, selling drugs, so you spent all your time in prison and didn't have the money for Social Security, you should not get a full Social Security check. There should not be well, it's a minimum of at least $800. No. What you put in is what it is. You know what, Miss Sheila Rickers? I could talk about the left being corrupt, but you know what? It's some corrupt Republicans too. Now, Miss Sheila, I totally agree with you. Miss Sheila Rickers on Black Tea Patriot says, why can't we talk about Democrats being corrupt all the time? We need to spend more time on Democrats being corrupt. You know what, Miss Sheila? That is so true. We do need to spend more time on Democrats being corrupt. But you got some Republicans that's laying in the bed with them. We got some Republicans just laying in the bed with them. Seriously. We got some Republicans that the reason why so many illegal immigrants are coming because they won't put fines on businesses that hire them. You want to stop illegal immigration? Stop these government programs and schools with bilingual. You come to America, you speak English. Yep, Romney. You come to America, you speak English. You go to an American school, you speak English. Why are we paying teachers more money to speak Spanish for the students in the classroom who can't understand English? Why? And I know somebody's going to say, and that goes to same for someone speaking any other language. Well, Jamal, I know someone that couldn't speak English and they are strong conservative. You keep focusing on that one while 99 others slip through and costing us money. Yes, you may know somebody that was the one. You may know somebody that was the one. He was the one person that mother and father came here illegally, and they're one of the strongest conservatives it is. You can't use that one to justify all the others. And I'm talking African too. American schools should teach in English. Spanish should be an elective, like it is. Now, should there be teachers that can speak bilingual? Sure. And should they be teaching Spanish? Yes. Pay them good. Pay them well. But if you got a child in the classroom, the kindergarten classroom, that can't speak English, unless they're Puerto Rican, they shouldn't be allowed to go to school. If they're migrants, they're going back. Now, if the migrant farm want to hire these teachers to come in and teach the students and, you know, hold the students at the migrant camps and hold classrooms like they used to do in the 1800s and have them come into a classroom while the parents are working in the fields, and you're teaching the students English and Spanish and teach them how to speak English and add in all those things, that should be on the farm that the migrant worker is working at. That should not be on the American taxpayer. The American taxpayer should not be covering that. You have Puerto Ricans, you have Dominicanos. Well, Dominicans aren't a U.S. territory, quote unquote, but Dominicans been coming to America for 100 years. I'm sorry. I don't see how you can deport a Dominican. Look, some of you may disagree with me when I say this, but I don't see how y'all can deport a Dominican. Dominicans been coming to America for 100 years. Dominicans been coming to America for 100 years, been in New York for 100 years. Black folk been marrying Dominicans and Puerto Ricans since 1930s. That's where you get Caribbean jazz. Caribbean jazz is nothing but jazz with the Puerto Rican and Dominican twist to it. Da 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 da. Oh, I'm gonna tell you, I love me some jazz. I love jazz, especially Caribbean jazz. I can listen to Caribbean jazz all day. I love it. But if you are a migrant worker, we should not be allowing those kids to go to school in a public school that's taking money. We have to, and definitely not paying for no surgeries. If you a male prisoner and you in prison for life and you decide you gonna be a woman, well, you better do like them men been doing for years. Get you some Kool-Aid, some Vaseline, put it on your lips, walk around in some tight prison pants and tie up shirt. But we don't need to be paying for no transitioning. I ain't gonna lie. So you need to put them like they did. Y'all remember the DMX video? I was gonna give it to you. I was gonna give it to you. Y'all remember that video? Ain't everybody here been saved all their life? When where my dog's at? And he had dude walking around with pumps, had Kool-Aid lips and all that Vaseline. Well, okay, if you gonna transition while you in prison, you better do that. We ain't paying for it. We ain't paying for it. No. We ain't got money for that. And all them fat soldiers we got, we cutting them plates down, baby. You gonna start eating some of them nasty MREs. What? You overweight? Here go a ham, egg, and cheese. Here go a ham, egg, and cheese MRE. Holla. I'm gonna tell you right now, you either gonna do two things. If you get a whole pack of ham and egg MREs, you either gonna do two things. You gonna eat it, or you gonna lose some weight. You gonna be fasting. You'll lose that weight. You go out to the field for about 30 days. Go out to the field for about 30 days. Okay, hold on. Richard H. Lofton says, you're so correct. My mother cried years ago because she was short and could only draw $400 a month, so she had to work till she was 70. You can't get Social Security or SSI if you don't have enough paid in. I know if you don't have enough. Sherry Smith says you can't get Social Security or SSI if you don't have enough paid in. I'm 65. I'm over 11,000. I'm blank short. What I need to be is eligible to draw. I'll need to be eligible to draw either, or that's what I've been told. I've been sick most of my life, so I've had trouble holding a job. But I've always been denied disability. You know what? God, y'all gonna get me on this. But I got to address what Miss Sherry Smith said. It is downright disgusting how hard it is to get disability. People have had strokes. People have had strokes. People have had amputations, and they still deny them disability. That is the worst thing I have ever seen. How in the world can you deny somebody who've been having amputees, they done had heart attacks, they done had strokes, and you still deny them disability? But this welfare heifer done had her second or third baby out of wedlock, and you increase her food stamps and welfare check? That is very sad. That is very sad. How they do people when it comes to disability. People who've been sick majority of their life. Some people had heart problems they could not help. But the welfare hussy, she's still in the projects getting it. The reason why the projects is so bad because of the welfare baby mamas. Jeff Hayes says epileptic seizures. Yes, that is so true. If you know somebody with the epileptic seizure, they fall out, they pass out, they cannot eat, they can't maintain a job. That is so true. Somebody with the epileptic seizure cannot maintain a job. You are so correct, Jeff Hayes. That is 100% correct. People got to keep paying lawyers. They already broke, and you gonna sit there and force them to pay a lawyer. Now that is stuff that need to go on. Oh, let me say this real quick. Oh my God, y'all got me talking about it. Some of this stuff that's going on in America that you need a lawyer to get is because these lawyers and these government agencies done got in bed together and they keeping themselves paid. You should not need to get a lawyer to go talk to someone about money that you need as an American citizen. That is just wrong. That I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you when it comes to I want to thank Miss Claire Thomas. I want to thank Miss Claire Miss Pamela Thomas. Miss Pamela Thomas, thank you for your kindness and generosity and your donation to the page through Cash App. Let me check PayPal. Okay, some people donate through PayPal. All right. But yeah, every time I notice something, they always find a reason to create an attorney who need to do this. You need to talk to an attorney to go get Social Security. Talk to an attorney to get disability. You in a wheelchair and they sitting up there denying you disability. You know what? I'm gonna tell you right now. They need to reform the systems, and they need to reform the systems by getting people in there who's gonna cut on the fraud and throw them out. That's what they need to do. I'm serious. That is one of the things, because I know people who need disability and can't get it. If you on welfare, you don't need no iPhone. You need a rotary phone at home so you can wait and get a job. Got an iPhone. I need 5 gigabytes. For what? You need to have your butt home. You don't need TikTok. You don't need Facebook. You need to get the job applications. Get you a daggone paper route. Start delivering newspapers. Get you a paper route. Deliver you some papers. Shouldn't take people 3, 4, 5 years to get daggone disability and SSI. Have you had a stroke? Yes. Are you an amputee? Yes. Have you had a stroke and heart attack? Yes. Please have your doctor come give us a note. This person here has had 2 strokes. She cannot work, or he cannot work. They have weakness in their arm. They need disability. Well, you really don't need it. You can't get a job at Walmart. There ain't that many greeters at Walmart. And Walmart cutting down on the greeters. And you know what? It is so shameful. It is so shameful watching somebody in their 70s and 80s trying to walk up and give you a basket at Walmart. You know the first thing I say, no ma'am, don't worry about it, I'll get it. You have a blessed day. That's what I say. No, greeters don't do work. No ma'am, I get my own basket, ma'am. No. And Republicans got to stop being scared to do the reforms. America first means Americans. Well, Jamal, what all these illegals gonna do if they come over, and what is she gonna do if she got a baby? What is she gonna do if she got a baby? How's she gonna feed the baby? Doll strip club? I'm just saying. Porn? I'm just saying. Don't waste your talent. You could be a talent. You could be a success. But all jokes aside, all kidding. But that's unfair to people. Nobody runs on that. Cutting welfare, cutting not Medicaid, because Medicaid, not Medicare. Medicare is for the elderly. Medicaid is for the welfare recipients. They need to cut Medicaid, not Medicare. Make sure I say that right. They need to cut Medicaid, not Medicare. Well, Miss Michelle Bueller, that's what goes on. People with chemotherapy done took chemo, fighting cancer, and they still telling you to go work. That's pathetic. Oh, my bad, Shane. Shane posted. I thought I. Oh, my bad, Shane. Shane posted. Shane posted the link to the other channel. I supposed to been going to the other channel. Ah, Shane, my bad, Shane. Oh, there go Rumble. All right, Mind of Jamal, we about to roll over to Mind of Jamal Live. We are about to roll over to Mind of Jamal Black Southerner. Please, please, please hit that like button before you go. And we're about to transfer over there to Mind of Jamal Black Southerner. Mind of Jamal Live, good night. Thank you guys for coming out. But please go over to Mind of Jamal Black Southerner or Rumble. Hold on, make sure I ain't do nothing stupid. Hold on, make sure I ain't do nothing wrong. Okay. Okay.